Hey, you guys. So anyway, I have been watching this show on Netflix lately called The Umbrella Academy. And I kind of want to get off into, and I don't have a lot of storage space on my phone. So for a little bit, my videos are going to be between 13, 15 minutes, and I'm going to have to clip them. But I will get that fixed very soon so that I can get back to doing longer videos, because I know some people, they like to listen while they work. They don't want to have to sit and, come back and deal with the phone and find another video to watch. They like to just, have 30, 40 minute, an hour videos that they can just listen to somebody talk, whatever. But anyway, so the Umbrella Academy, right? I kind of want to get into my more spiritual side, the side of me that the things that I perceive, and, this may not be for everybody. Not everybody may see stuff, exactly like I do, but it's what happens to me. Okay. I used to hear a saying that, as far as books back in the day before social media and all this stuff, books, you don't choose books, they choose you. Somebody once told me that. And it became very true for me as I grew in my life emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and spiritually. As I evolved and ascended more over the years, I would find that things would come to me and choose me at the right time, when perhaps I had been questioning something that I needed answered, whatever, what have you. Okay. And books would very much do that. And at certain points in my life, when I was younger, I was big on fiction. As I got older, more nonfiction, different reading taste. I love life stories. I love biographies. I have my favorite writers, of course. And I read a lot of self-help, psychology, and different books like that in my life too. But I would almost find books to be oracles almost. I mean, that's really how things started coming to me. Granted, we are all, to me, I feel like we're all in this life with different individual missions, gifts, talents, ways of perceiving. We're definitely all on different dimensions of consciousness, growth rates at different times, even though we are a part of the collective consciousness. So, I think that we're all here to do very special things. We just have to get in touch with that and figure out what that is for us. Yes, okay? Even people who don't seem to be doing much. That's something I want to get across, at some point. How this life can make us feel so small and so worthless. And I know what it feels like to be down there, okay? But I'm beginning to tap into the fact that I feel like the whole thing is a lie. They're lying to us when you're down there in that hole, when you're feeling small. The whole picture that you have to be this, this, and this, and produce this, this, and this, and toe this particular line to be valuable as a human, to have special and wonderful gifts and purpose here, to let that ripple out of you with your loved ones and people you come into contact with. That has nothing to do with whether you're a straight A student, or you drive a Lexus, or you live in a mansion, or you produce A, B, and C. That has nothing to do with that, okay? So I'll get into that another time. But the Umbrella Academy. So the same thing started to happen with movies and shows and films. I'm a highly spiritual person. I always have been. And, we're all on different levels with that. Whatever comes to me, I pay attention to it, no matter how small. I can't say that I have developed those things. I can't say that I'm a gifted psychic medium, or that I can see into other realms or anything like that. I would never exaggerate that kind of thing. But what spiritual experiences I have had, and what bits and pieces I can tap into, wherever I find that gift in me, I pay attention to it. I build onto it. I try to develop it more. Okay. I don't just dismiss it as nothing. And I think that's inside of most people. Okay. Now, I'm not saying there aren't dark entities on this earth, because there are. That evil can work through. It's there. I can't deny that. Okay. But, so anyway, the Umbrella Academy, Possible spoilers here. I'm not going to get too deep into it because I don't have time right now on this video. But shows began coming to me. I really started noticing this in the year of the pandemic, late 2020. I started noticing I was becoming like my grandmother. I was watching American Horror Story, and I had watched it so many times, every season, and I had landed upon one or two seasons that I really just loved so much I didn't want to let go. I kept putting it on in the background no matter what else I was reading, cleaning, doing. I would have American Horror Story running in the background. And every time I would watch a particular season, Hotel and Murder House were two of my absolute favorites. I was just attached. And I would let it run in the background over and over and over. And you know, every time I did that, I would have to stop what I was doing and go, wait a minute. I didn't hear that the first time around. I didn't hear that. I've been watching this very episode, this very season over and over and over and over. I mean, it's just been, I've seen it so many times and heard it so many times. I did not hear that before. And I would write certain things down. And then I would notice that within these shows, there would be very valuable things, very valuable quotes, answers to questions that I may have been pondering for a while. Puzzle pieces would come together within the dialogue. Call me crazy, call me weird, but it was there. So I noticed that, like my grandmother, my grandmother was a school teacher. She got old and she had notebooks everywhere, scraps of paper. She was always writing things down, ideas. She wanted to write a book. Bless her heart, she lived 96 years and she didn't get to do that. But she was such an intelligent and spiritual woman, so full of ideas, and she loved beautiful things. And so she would just write down knowledge and information and good ideas and things like that. And she had it everywhere. So that was the first time I kind of noticed that within me. I've always been a writer. I've always had notebooks. I've always done all that. So the first time I noticed, I started to take notes while watching a damn Netflix show. And that's what's funny about my damn personality. You know, it's like a lot of the time I cannot just relax and do things for entertainment purposes. It's like I'm always working, or I'm always a student of life. And I feel like that's okay. You know, not everybody may look at it that way, but I feel like the universe tries to teach us things, give us insight, give us knowledge along our path here, along the way, in some of the strangest of places. So back to the Umbrella Academy, I know. But just like in the Umbrella Academy, where the operatives receive their messages through these little tubes in time, there's a commission that keeps the timeline safe, and they receive their messages in the weirdest of places. Could be a fireplace, could be behind the air conditioning vent, could be in the refrigerator, one came down in the Coke machine. You never know. And so that's what I want to say before I have to conclude this video. I'm just going to get stuff out of me in bits and pieces, and it might be abstract. If it makes sense to some people, that's great. If it doesn't, okay. But I love the Umbrella Academy. And, you know, like I said, I started writing down things. And then I noticed in the year after that, and the year after that, in the last 2 years, especially since I started going through the biggest and worst dark night of the soul I've ever experienced, and my partner passed away in September of last year. During that whole entire time period, I noticed certain shows coming to me on Netflix. You know, I've always been that way anyway. It's kind of hard for me to just settle down and watch TV. I don't do it a lot. I like to be productive and yada, yada, yada. And I thought, that's just like you, dumbass. You're so nerdy. You can't even sit here and feel comfortable just vegging out and letting your mind. Sometimes I do watch TV to escape, and it's fun. It's fun to get a break from this reality. But a lot of times I found myself in this last year, certain shows would come to me. It was very hard for me to just settle on one. What am I in the mood for? I don't care about that. And, you know, certain shows would come to me and they would have similar concepts going on within them. And they came in a certain order. Okay. Shows like the OA, shows like Manifest, shows like See You in My 19th Life. So many shows I could tell you guys about. And I began being compelled to take notes. Had to get out my notebook, literally, especially with the OA. Oh my God. That show, if you're into quantum, timeline, interdimensional travel, you're in this place in your life where you're trying to understand yourself and the ascension process, and you've got questions and whatever. These shows started to come to me, and I started taking notes. There would be so many things answered for me, so many good quotes and things said in the dialogue. And I'll get into those shows later, but The Umbrella Academy is the latest one. And, I'm really weird about my partner would finish a Netflix show and just devour it, and boom, he'd be on to the next one before he could even think straight. And I'm like, wow, I'm kind of different. I get attached to the characters. I want to go in deeper and deeper. I want to know who the real actors are. I want to know, is this based on the true story? I do a lot of research. I might watch the same series literally 5 or 6 times all over again. But each time I go in, I get a deeper realization. And that's kind of like life too. Each time we go in, we get a deeper realization about different things. Sorry, something just popped up on my phone. I had to read it. And so it's not always that we are failing or that we are trying to make a mistake over and over. A lot of times, if you look for it, it is because the universe is giving you deeper information about that subject or about that person or about that situation that you just haven't seen yet. And yes, I know all about psychological processes, old childhood wounds and patterns that we carry out again and again and again, trying to fix our parents and fix ourselves. I know about those psychological traps and patterns, and I've identified them years ago. And they have to be identified, of course. I always suggest that you have a good, strong, solid mental foundation and seek therapy and professional guidance if you need it. I always suggest that. The spiritual stuff, whatever, it can come later. I didn't just skip ahead. I've always been highly spiritual, but I didn't just skip ahead to that. I did work with a professional therapist for many, many years to make sure that I could stay grounded and solid and sort myself out, okay? But I highly recommend the Umbrella Academy if you're into interdimensional travel, timeline. The soundtrack is phenomenal, okay? It has got something for everybody. And these characters, to me, it's just an amazing storyline. And it's weird. I've grown so much because if this had been 5 or 6 years ago, I would have laughed off these kind of shows like too sci-fi. Too much for my brain to handle. Not interesting. But I was evolving that whole time spiritually. And now that's the only type of stuff I'm drawn to. It's the only thing I can really understand, and all the rest of the stuff is boring to me. That's crazy, huh? But yeah, there's a lot within the Umbrella Academy. And I just had to share that it's enough to make me get out a notebook and jot things down. Dialogue between the characters, things that are happening within the show. So I'm going to leave this with, and I'll make a part 2 and carry on a little bit more in the future, but I'm going to leave this with, you never know where you're going to get your answers, your insight, and your guidance. It's all around if you look for it. If you pay attention and don't doubt yourself. Don't just laugh it off or think that it's stupid. Pay attention. It could come in any mysterious, weird, abstract, random form out there. Okay? And it's meant for you to take it in and process it and understand it and use it to help get you through. To help get you to that next day, that next right step. So, anyway, I don't know. That's just how it came out, and that's what I needed to say. I'll see you guys in the next one, okay?